During this movie, we'll be demonstrating the steps to correctly calibrate and profile a monitor. As photographers, we can appreciate the importance of having a true representation of our photos as they are viewed on our displays. With a profile monitor, our images will be viewed as they truly are and will be able to apply the correct adjustments for our desired result. The lighting condition of our work area will influence how we work with our images and our photographs. For an accurate comparison of photographs to images, we must work in the correct lighting condition. A common problem for many photographers is the amount of light in our computer work area. Many of us may work in a very dim to dark work environment as we process our image files. However, we should not work in a dark room absent of light. Some light in our work area is needed to accurately interpret and adjust our photos. We'll talk more about this later. The standard for viewing our photographs is the D50 daylight balanced lighting condition. There are several options we can choose to create the standard lighting condition in our work area. First, we can use a daylight balanced light box, such as a GTI or other brand of light box. A second option is to use light bulbs capable of creating a daylight balanced lighting condition. However, be aware not all bulbs can accurately create our goal of the standard lighting condition. Instead, we should use only light bulbs specifically designed for this purpose. A third option is to use actual daylight to view our photographs. To use this option, we would use indirect daylight at midday under a clear sky to view our photographs. This is a low-tech option and certainly not ideal for nighttime comparison, but it is an option we can use in a pinch. Later, once we have profiled our display, we will need test prints to compare to on-screen images on the calibrated monitor. Select 4 or 5 well-exposed and white-balanced image files for our test prints. As we select the files for our test prints, the images should represent the subject matter, lighting conditions, and locations we typically encounter as we photograph our subjects. Once selected, send images to millers and have test prints made without any adjustments or corrections applied to the files. During the process of profiling our display, we'll use a calibration device called a colorimeter. This device will be placed on the front of our monitor to measure colors, adjust the contrast, and set the brightness levels of the display. The end result of this process will be the creation of a monitor profile, a small file our computer's operating system will use. One special point about the monitor profile we will be creating. The profile should be used by the computer's operating system only. The profile should not be embedded into an image file. As we walk through the steps to profile our monitor, we'll use the X-Rite I1 Display Pro device. The i1 Display Pro is affordable, easy to use, and is both Macintosh and Windows compatible. Please be aware, there are other devices on the market we can use, such as the X-Rite ColorMonkey Photo, the X-Rite ColorMonkey Display, or the Datacolor Spider 5 Elite. In addition to profiling our monitor, all of these devices will profile not only our desktop and laptop displays, but also large screen televisions and video projectors. Connect the i1 Display Pro device to our computer via USB port. Start the i1 Profiler software. Click here to enable the advanced mode of calibration. In the Application Info section, place a check mark here to automatically check for an update at startup. Along the left side of the window, click the profiling option here. Select a monitor to be calibrated and the type of technology our monitor uses from the drop-down menu. In the white point section, we'll choose the CIE Illuminate D50 white point. This setting will achieve the closest print to monitor match with the miller's printing process. Of course, there are other white point options we can choose and experiment with as well. In the luminance section, we control the luminance or brightness of our display. As a starting point, select a luminance value of 100 candelas per meter squared. Once we have profiled our display, we will compare on-screen images to the test prints we spoke of earlier. As we make our comparison, we may need to modify the luminance value. We will discuss this in more detail later. In the gamma section, choose a standard option from the drop-down menu. Gamma will be set to the recommended 2.2 setting. In the contrast ratio section, we will choose the native option. Next is the flare correct option. The light falling on the surface of a monitor, especially glossy displays, will affect the contrast ratio of our display. The flare correct feature will measure and adjust the profile for any flare that may be present. Place a check mark here to select this option. Leave this option unchecked. Click the help icon to display an interactive help screen for any item we mouse over on this page. And lastly, click the Save button to save the above settings as the default options. Click the Next button or click the Profile Settings icon here. For the default profile settings, we will check the Use Defaults checkbox. Click the Patch Set icon. From this page, we'll choose the number of color patches the device will sample to profile our display. Keep in mind, the more color patches sampled, the more accurate our profile will be. Choose the Large option from the drop-down menu. Click the Measurement button. On the default measurement page, go to the Display Hardware Setup section and choose how our monitor will be adjusted. Choose the Automatic Display Control option to have the I1 Profiler software attempt to change the display's settings. For some monitors, the ADC option may not function. If so, return to this screen and choose the option to manually adjust the settings. Click the Start Measurement button here. We will be prompted to perform an ambient light measurement. Place the I1 display on the work surface of our normal lighting condition for our work environment. Follow the on-screen graphics to make sure the ambient diffuser is covering the device's lens. Click the Next button. Our ambient lighting condition will be measured. Next, the monitor will be measured for the presence of flare. Follow the on-screen graphics and hold the device 12 inches from the display. Be certain to aim for the center of the monitor. Press the spacebar to begin the flare detection process. Next, follow the on-screen graphics and place the I1 Display Pro in the center of the display. Place a counterweight behind the monitor and tilt the display so the device rests flat against the front. Following the instruction page, reset the monitor to the factory default settings. Select control options, contrast, RGB controls, brightness, available on our monitor to manually adjust the display. Click the Next button. The contrast and brightness of our monitor will be measured. As noted earlier, the automatic display control will attempt to adjust our monitor. If prompted, adjust the monitor's brightness controls. The orange indicator bar should be as close as possible to the center line, or at least somewhere inside the green zone on the graph. Please note, once the brightness level is set, the monitor's brightness should only be changed when reprofiling with the I1 Profiler software. When finished, click the Next button. The I1 Profiler software will display a series of color patches on the monitor. As each color is revealed, the I1 Display Pro will measure and record the color as it appears on the monitor. When finished, click the Next button. Click the Next button here. Input a name for the monitor profile. Use the supply text and or add today's date. As we work with our computer, reboot, shut down, restart, etc., this monitor profile will be used to correctly display the images on our monitor. However, over time, the display will drift away from its current profile state and will require a periodic updating. The I1 Profiler software can be set to remind us when it's time to reprofile. From the pull-down menu, select a 1 to 4 week interval to reprofile the monitor. Click the Create and Save Profile button here. The profile will be saved to our computer, and the new profile will become active in the default profile for our display. As we noted earlier, the profile should be used by the computer's operating system only and should not be embedded into an image. Click the Home button to be returned to the opening screen. We will use Adobe Photoshop to view our test images and compare to our non-corrected photographs we spoke of earlier. In Photoshop, select the Color Settings option from the Edit menu. The Color Settings dialog will be displayed. In the Working Spaces section, choose the sRGB IEC 61966-2.1 option from the RGB pull-down menu. In the Color Management Policies section, select the Convert to Working RGB option from the RGB pull-down menu. And finally, place a check mark in the 3 checkboxes here for profile mismatches and missing profiles. Click OK to close the Color Settings dialog. The last step is to compare test prints to images on our calibrated and profiled monitor. Locate the test prints we spoke of earlier. Load the images we sent for test prints into Adobe Photoshop. Compare the non-corrected test prints to the test images displayed on our profile monitor. Our goal is for the two to match as closely as possible. Please note, as we view the prints and images, we'll be comparing a backlit image to a frontlit print. As noted earlier, it is critically important to view the non-corrected photographs under a daylight condition for an accurate print to monitor comparison. Compare all the non-corrected test prints to all the test images and consider how they compare overall. If the images and prints don't match, we will need to modify our calibration settings and reprofile our display. If the images viewed on our monitor are brighter than the photographs, adjust the luminance setting in the I1 Display Pro software to a lower value. We use a starting point of 100, select a lower luminance value, and reprofile the display. Likewise, if the images viewed on our monitor are darker than the photographs, select a higher luminance value and reprofile the display. Again, be certain to not adjust the monitor's brightness, contrast, or color settings without the use of the colorimeter and its software.